What a beautiful day and what a special day. We're celebrating all the fathering figures that are in our lives, our fathers, our grandfathers, those that step up and take that position in our lives. And what a great day of celebration this is. We celebrate our God, we celebrate all our male friends, all our female friends that are fathering figures, and it's such a blessing. So we're doubly blessed today. Heather is going to be presiding this morning. Yes. And we have Shelley here from Zion as well. So we're going to have a great morning this morning. And we're going to start things off with our opening song, Put a Little Love in Your Heart. And we want to see a lot of activities, stand up and move around.
Think of your fellow man, lend him a helping hand, put a little love in your heart. You see it's getting late, so please don't hesitate, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Another day goes by and still the children cry, put a little love in your heart. We want the world to know, we won't let hatred grow, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. And the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Another day goes by and still the children cry, put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide, kindness will be your guide, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Put a little love in your heart, put a little love in your heart, put a little love in your heart, put a little love in your heart.
Merci.
Wow. Oh, please stay standing. We're going to sing. Oh, sing to our God. And you're welcome to clap and dance with that one too. Slide though.
Oh, sing to our God. Oh, sing out a new song. Oh, sing to our God. Oh, sing out a new song. Oh, sing to our God. Oh, sing out a new song. Sing to our God. Oh, sing to our God. Oh, dance with our God. Oh, blow out the trumpets. Oh, dance with our God. Oh, blow out the trumpets. Oh, dance with our God. Oh, blow out the trumpets. Oh, dance with our God. Oh, dance with our God. Oh, shout to our God. Oh, give us a spirit. Oh, shout to our God. Who gave
In gratitude we come. Oh!
I got it figured out. Yeah. I just accepted the negative part and it went away. Oh yeah, it wanted me to accept talking
Yahweh be praised in the heavens. Yahweh be praised in the streets. Yahweh be praised in the singing. When in worship we meet. Yahweh be praised. Yahweh be praised. Yahweh be praised. Yahweh be praised. Yahweh be praised, Yahweh be praised, Yahweh be praised, Yahweh be praised.
Join in with us. Here we go.
Yahweh be praised in the heavens. Yahweh be praised in the streets. Yahweh be praised with our singing. When in worship we meet. Oh, Yahweh be praised. 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 Yahweh be praised.
And so we open to the infinite. God be with you. And also with you. Lift up your hearts. We lift them up to God. It is right. Oh, did I say it right? Yes. It is right to give our thanks and praise to God. Oh, I did. I missed one. It's my bifocals. I keep looking up and I'm sorry. Okay. Now I'm lost. And so we light the candles of the divine presence, knowing that the Christ light is within each one of us, and it shines with love and grace and mercy, always, in all people and all of creation. All God's people said, Amen. Our Bible verse of the month, and I would ask you to repeat that with me. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. Our opening hymn is Great is Thy Faithfulness. It will be familiar to some of us, maybe some not to others. But the words are so beautiful and poignant, and they talk about the great creation that is all over us for us to see, especially in this spring to summertime moment that we have outside. Everything is green and lush and beautiful. I invite you to sing.
There is motion
us pray. Spirit of light, of wonder, of moment, you raise your golden arm on the blessing of this day. Today a newborn will breathe in your life with joy. Today a loved one will sigh in your bosom. Today a tree will sprout a new leaf. Today a mushroom will hug a decaying bark of a once towering giant. Today we will cry, Abba. Today we will laugh, Jesus, the Christ. Today we will live in the golden moment of your raised arm of blessing. Today is a good day, God. And together we lift our voices to you and pray as Jesus taught us to. Our Mother and our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Please be seated.
Sorry. So, we come to this most special time where we share our joys and our sorrows, or maybe some prayer requests. Do you have any birthdays or anniversaries? Any celebrations that you'd like to share? Maybe shy.
I'm all done work forever. On June 28th, I'm retiring.
There should be a special song just for that, I think. Any other celebrations? This is where I get my morning workout. Means I can have cake after.
Some of you have met my young friend Ramzia. She's a Yazidi refugee that was captured by ISIS along with her two sisters 5 years ago. She escaped, but her sister just came home yesterday. So one sister is still with ISIS, but she has one sister home again.
Thank you for sharing that. It's incredible.
Good morning. Next Sunday, Pioneer Village is celebrating its 60th year, and everybody's invited to come, and they're charging only 60 cents to get in, and there'll be all kinds of celebrations there, and it's a great landmark for them.
60 cents. How cool is that? Any other celebrations? I don't want to miss anybody.
This is not a celebration or anniversary or anything, but I've been in Canada for 5 years and I've never been back to Jamaica. And on July 13, I'm going to visit my family.
What a blessing to be able to go and see your family. Any other celebrations? Do you have any announcements this morning?
Those of you who get the newsletters should have got theirs last Sunday, if you get it by email, sorry. If you get a printed copy, they're on the back. We're going to be mailing them out, and there's an awful lot sitting there. So if you're able to stop by and pick up a few that live near you, you don't have to knock on the door and say hello if you're a little bit shy. Just put it in the mailbox and run away.
I'd like to thank everybody that said a prayer for my son and my granddaughter. They had a little tiff for a while, they weren't talking, and now they're back together. Thank God. Thank you.
Oh, Madeline. Oh. Oh, Annie, welcome, Annie. Welcome. Welcome. Well, I'm happy to be back. And I want to thank you all for your prayers for my family as well. My dad's become stabilized, and So we're grateful for that. And he's just waiting for a bed to come open for him in the local long-term care residence. So.
I would like to request a prayer, make a prayer request, both for myself, but especially for my friends Carrie and Beth, who lost their daughter yesterday to cancer. So please keep them in their prayer. Again, it's Carrie and Beth, and it was Caitlin who passed away.
Any other announcements?
I have one.
Prayer requests? Kathy?
Yeah. I just want to clarify something. There's been a little bit of confusion on the back of your bulletin. It's got the Canada Day celebration that's taking place June 30th at Mount Zion. It looks like I've had people ask me, are we not worshiping here? Are we only worshiping at Mount Zion? We are having a service here at Trinity. And then if you want to go over to Mount Zion for lunch, what is it here? Barbecue?
Yeah, sausage and burger,
Okay.
hot dogs.
And then there's your activities.
Sausage
there's-
and hot dogs.
And Shelley's band is playing. Where's Shelley?
Shelley's here, and Shelley's band is playing.
So, and the band is called Bob's Your Funkle. So, yeah, so just so you know that the service is here on June 30th. And then if you want to go over to Mount Zion, you're more than welcome. And the other thing is, are we streamlining, Eric?
Sure.
Well, are you? Are we on YouTube?
I'm live streaming, yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So I just want to say, Happy Father's Day to Dick. He is a wonderful father and a husband. So.
And there could be a slim chance that maybe this is being watched somewhere else on the globe. So we want to send out a Happy Father's Day to Paul. Happy Father's Day. We miss you on Father's Day, but we hope you're having a great time. And we'll see you when you get back. So safe travels for Paul. And we should keep Paul and Sue in our prayers that they remain safe and okay on their travels. So. And you'll notice also in the bulletin, you won't see a woman's circle probably until, I would say, October, but we will be having a gathering. If you're interested, I'm going to put a sign-up sheet on the back for some ladies that maybe haven't come out to the circle but might like to join us for a summer event. So if I put a sheet on the back, if you just put your email address on there, I can send you an email, and I promise I will do that once we establish a date. And then you can maybe get acquainted in a little different setting, and maybe feel more comfortable coming out on our Monday nights when we resume. So, thank you. Okay. Oh.
I have a prayer request I'd like to say for a good friend who lost a good friend on Monday.
Okay, Lynn, sorry. Lots of requests.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
And just a reminder that there was a birthday this week that maybe slipped us by. June 10th, 1925, so 94 years ago, the United Church was born. And the meeting that they had to make the vote, it was so Canadian. It was in a hockey arena. We are part of that beautiful organization that includes all and loves all and offers kindness and respect wherever we go. I would encourage you to check out the United Church webpage. It's amazing. And you'll see our brothers and sisters all over this beautiful land. Shelley's going to sing a song called Jesus is the Face of Love for our offering time.
Since Jesus is the face of love, we have seen the face of God. And looking in the face of love, we know that God believes in us. Jesus is the face of love. We have heard forgiveness called, since mercy is the heart of love. We know that God receives us all. We can see truth, we can see grace, we can see love in Jesus' face. Oh, we can see truth, we can see grace, we can see love in Jesus' face. Since Jesus is the face of love, we know God is on our side. Since God is for all humankind, our longing for justice will be realized. Our hopes will be realized. We can see truth, we can see grace, we can see love in Jesus' face. Oh, we can see truth, we can see grace, we can see love in Jesus' face. God won't shame us, God reclaims us, never leaves us or deceives us. God pursues us, her spirit woos us to love and to be loved. Since Jesus is the face of love, we have seen the face of God. And looking in the face of love, we know that God believes in us. Believes in us. Jesus believes in us. Jesus believes in us. In us. Jesus believes in us. Believes in us. Oh, Jesus believes in us. Jesus believes in us. So blessed by the gifts from your hand. Just can't understand why you loved us so much. We are so blessed. We just can't find a way, or words that can say thank you, Lord, for your touch.
Hi, it's almost time for children's camp. So I'm going to chat with you folk for a little while. Thank you for helping with the offering. It is so special when all many hands come and help. I want to sit down with you because it just seems to be better. How many of you like to climb? I do too. And what do you climb on? Do you climb a tree? Yes. What else do we climb? Yes? Rocks, yes. And our young lady in yellow? Rock climbing, that's perfect. I'm going to be talking about that today. And where are rocks? Where do we find them? Big rocks like that. Yes? Mountains, yes, you are right. How about a rock climbing gym? Has anyone gone up one of those walls? Have you seen that? That looks very scary to me. Wow. When I was young, I liked to climb too. And you know, God has given us hands that are strong, that we can reach up, especially when we're climbing up to slide down a slide. And we can hang on to the climber, can't we, very tightly. And sometimes we put our feet up and up and up and up, and we get to the very top. And what do we see when we get up there? Alligators. I think maybe we might. Yes. What else do you think we might see? Yes? Elephants. Yes, you are right. We will if we get very high. And? A snake, too. Maybe. They're very tiny when we get very high, though. That's kind of good. And? And sand, we will see sand on the ground, that's right, and by the climbers we see that. That's safe, so that when we fall, we don't hurt ourselves. And alligators. Well, we can be thankful that the Spirit, the one who made us, God, He has given us such great bodies that we can climb and we can jump and we can run and we can shout. And you know what else we can do? We can sing. So we're going to sing right now. He's got the whole world in His hand. God has given us this whole world to look at and have fun in and learn from. So let's sing that song together. I'll get the band to start it for us so we get on the right pitch.
Jesus ice keys.
He's got the right.
1, 2, 3, 4. The whole world in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. The sun and the moon in His hands. He's got the sun and the moon in His hands. He's got the sun and the moon in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. He's got the tiny little baby in His hands. He's got the tiny little baby in His hands. He's got the tiny little baby in His hands. He's got the whole world 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 in His hands.
Gracious God, we ask that you go with these precious young ones as they go to summer camp and they learn more about the joy of living and the love that we have in this beautiful place. Amen. We have a special sung response this day for the scripture. We haven't done this in some time. And so I'm going to ask your participation, and you'll see the words up on the screen. Shelley is going to walk you through it. But first we will sing the little response. You see the words sung response? Because I know that when we hold each other's hands up, we are just that much more in tune, right? So, O God, our God, how glorious is your name in all the earth. Thank you, Kathy. O God, our God, how glorious is your name in all the earth. Slide.
Me?
Yes.
O God, our God, how glorious is your name in all the earth. From the lips of infants and children, your praises reach up to the heavens. You have set up a stronghold against your foes to quell the enemy and the avenger.
O God, our God, how glorious is your name in all the earth.
When I look to the heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars you have set in their places.
What are we mortals that you should be mindful of us, mere human beings that you should care for us? O God, our God, how glorious is your name in all the earth.
Your divine light shines in us, and you have crowned us with glory and honor.
You have made us caregivers over all your creation and put all things under our feet.
All sheep and cattle, all creatures of the wild.
The birds of the air and the fish in the sea and all that make their way through the waters. O God, our God, how glorious is your name in all the earth. Before Jesus left them, he told his disciples, I have many more things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now. But when the Spirit of truth comes, she will guide you into all truth. For she will not speak of her own initiative, but whatever the Spirit hears, she will speak and give you wisdom for what is to come. May God bless the words that we hear this morning. Thanks be to God.
To
Thank you, choir. How many of you folk like to climb high when you were young? We spoke with the children about that a little bit. Anybody? Has anyone climbed the escarpment? Has anyone been up the escarpment, the Bruce Trail? Or maybe an indoor rock climbing gym? No? Mayor Hazel from Toronto has been. She's 94 or something. Maybe I'll put that on a list for me. It's so exhilarating being up high. I was a climber when I was small, and I can still hear Mrs. Flanagan next door yelling out the pantry window, "You kids get down off of that tree." Well, she had our best interests in mind because we often got bumps and scrapes, and she had tended to them a time or two. There seems to be a yearning in all of us to move towards the sky or feel what it would be like to fly. My son Jeff recently sent me a picture of our granddaughter Hazel. This is her. She's 7 years old and about as precocious and fearless as they come. In this picture, she stands atop Mount Burundi, near her home in Lilongwe, Malawi, Africa. She perches boldly at the edge, overlooking the beautiful panorama of fields and valleys spread out below her. The brisk, cooling wind is ruffling her silky flaxen hair, and Hazel's stance is confident. She has a small, triumphant smile on her lips, and she looks over the precipice with courage, empowered by the promise of life before her, and also secure in the knowledge that her dad is just a step behind her protectively. She looks fearlessly off into the distance. Mount Burundi is a pilgrimage mountain, and like all high places on earth, it has a steady stream of wayfarers who toil up the winding, rocky paths to its summit. It's a grueling hour-and-a-half climb upwards. Jeff tells me that the mountain draws people from all faiths and walks of life, and you never come down the same way you go up. Long ago, the first king of Israel, King Solomon, he penned these words: "The Infinite One has made everything beautiful in its time, and he's also set eternity in our hearts." But we can't fathom the work that God has done from the beginning to the end. Is it any wonder that we want to climb upwards? For the lofty heights provide an awareness of hope, a seeing beyond our individual lives, and a knowing that is perhaps beyond our knowing. We want to learn of our Creator through her beautiful works, like the mountains and vistas that challenge us. Father Richard Rohr is a modern-day mystic and a Franciscan priest, and he lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico, at a hermitage there. In his book called Falling Upward, he speaks of climbing spiritually up into the silence of God. What's that? The silence of God? It's that calm, abiding joy, that peace of understanding in that deep well that's within us as we sense the magnificence in a sunrise. It's a connection with someone who really gets where we're coming from. And it's the wonder and delight of holding a newborn for the very first time. The silence of God is like looking into a puddle and seeing your own face reflected there in the magnificent clouds above. It's a knowing that there's an infinite design to this life and that you are all a part of it. It causes us to be still. And in that stillness comes peace and joy. Richard also speaks of two distinct seasons in our life as we journey along. In the first half, we're learning and growing and clinging to the roots of those who have gone before us. We walk in the shade of the mountains, but it's in the valleys where we learn what works and what doesn't work in our life. We need this time to learn by doing and to listen to others who have gone before us, and then we can begin to take courage to climb our mountains. Richard suggests that in the second half of life, the essence of who we are really meant to be starts to shine. There's no age limit to this, however, for I've met very young ones who have already been through some struggles and difficult valleys, like cancer or family separations. And they learn at a young age a much different perspective, don't they? When our youngest son, Graham, was about 9, I believe he was thinking upward, for one day he asked his grandma, "Grandma, when I came down from heaven, did I bounce?" He was pondering things above his experience in a context that he could understand. According to Richard Rohr, this second half of life experience, this falling upward to God, reveals our true self. Our true self is one that questions and yet accepts that the answers may not come. It's one that seeks and yet enjoys the days as blessings, living in the moment, right where we need to be, in the joy and in the suffering. We've been through some stuff, haven't we? And God has seen us through. This true self creates and comes to an understanding that failures are all a part of creating, and it's in the hard times we often learn compassion and empathy for ourselves and for others. In the first half of life, our false self, as Richard calls it, often rules our lives. We're busy, we're distracted, we're raising families, we're climbing corporate ladders. We get caught up in the briars and bushes along the pathway, trying and failing and rising and trying again. In those years, often our spiritual life takes a beating, and the climb upward can be difficult. Our gospel passage reassures us that in every stage of life and every experience of life, the divine Spirit is with us. And as Jesus says, the Spirit will guide you into all truth. Even when it feels like we're struggling to know up from down, the Spirit is with us. Some years ago, I was in a restroom at Stronach Arena, standing at the sink, when one of the other mothers from our son's hockey team rushed in looking pale and shaking like a leaf. In her hand was a brown envelope. She held it up and she blurted out, My husband just served me with divorce papers. Here, now, how could he? The boys, they're on the ice. They don't know. I didn't know her well, but in that moment, it didn't matter. I just grabbed her sobbing form, and together we stood, feeling the searing pain of shale and loosened soil of her life hitting both our shoulders and crashing to the darkened valley below. I couldn't think of anything profound to say, so I hugged her close and I prayed in silence while the rocks of life crashed about her. After a moment, the blessed spirit of love and peace settled over us, and she shakily began to regain her footing, bruised and bleeding, but alive, and ready to face the next part of her climb. As we parted, I knew that she wouldn't go alone. This was a new beginning on her road of life. We don't take time in our early years to ponder our beginnings, and often life is a series of starting over moments, when our footing momentarily slips, and we must find that God-given inner strength only when we're sliding down our mountains. But in the climbing or in the sliding, Spirit is always there. Jesus was constantly falling upward. He drew strength from the Holy One, who he called Abba, meaning Daddy. That's a term of familiarity and intimacy and trust. Jesus often tramped up the hillsides to find renewal in that silence of the Spirit that we have within us all. Our Bible reading has Jesus returning from one of these refreshing times on the mountain, and he knew his time was short, and the disciples were going to be facing a very hard climb of the new beginning when he was gone. So he encouraged them by saying, I have many more things to say to you, but you can't bear them now. But when the Spirit of truth comes, she will guide you into all truth. Can't you feel and hear the longing in his voice? Oh, how I wish I could unzip you and fill you full of the wonders and wisdom of God, and then zip you back up and send you on your way. But life, it doesn't work like that, does it? Jesus knew that the mountain his disciples would climb had their own valley of shadows, and he could only encourage their faltering steps with the good news that Spirit was with them. And this is the promise of Pentecost. Every breath we take, every move we make, God is with us. From the pinnacle, we can clearly see the vistas that are spread out below us, and everything is laid out. But most of life is not spent on the high places and on the plateaus, is it? We must go down, for food is in the valleys. And that's where we spend the first half of our life, trudging through mountains of diapers and paperwork and mortgages and McDonald's drive-thrus, taking only what sustains us for the moment and staying in our own small valley. Has anyone been there? That's okay for a time. But in the quiet moments, don't you find yourself yearning for the heights again? The freedom of adventure? The disciples sure did. God has set eternity into our hearts, hasn't he? Pentecost is now. That's when climbing a mountain can change us. Looking back, we can see those crooked roads. And we can see the fun and the family moments. And we also see the burned bridges and the paths to nowhere. But then almost too soon, our children have morphed from soothers to Star Wars. And we get to the part where we start murmuring, when the kids move out, we're going to sell the house. We're going to renovate. Our fridge will have food in it again and gas in the car. And we might even get the car. You might feel that you've reached the summit like my granddaughter Hazel, standing fearlessly on the edge of Burundi Mountain, or you might feel the bruises and the scrapes and the sweat and band-aids of your long journey. And that's where we pause and take a deep breath. For now. Because sometimes we hesitate and falter at the edge of the plateau, gazing out in wonder. Where do we go from here? How do we get down? Let's remember that our scars are a testimony to wisdom gained and a reminder that the Spirit has seen us through, always. As Hazel stands, face turned to the wind, facing the world that her 7-year-old self neither understands nor comprehends, I sense in her the driving force of life that the Creator has given all of us. The answer floats on the wind, whipping our hair into our eyes, on the summit of our mountains. It gifts us with a wisdom that affirms the essence of who we are and a faith to become all that we need to be. That woman in the hockey arena, she faced her mountain with courage, and she's moved on to climb again with her boys together facing the wind. I end with a dream that I had a few years ago when I was struggling up the treacherous path of depression. With pain in my every step, I dreamed that I was toiling up a rocky incline, and I was so slow that everyone on the path was passing me by, and they were going up over the ridge and onto the plateau and disappearing. Desperately, I reached towards the edge of the rim to pull myself up, but I couldn't get over the top. I woke up disturbed, and I was afraid, and I shared the nightmare with Bob, my husband, that morning. That night, Bob had a dream too. He dreamed he was on the same mountaintop, but he was looking down, and he was reaching out to help me up over the rocky ridge. He said that he tried with all his might, but he couldn't quite reach me. But suddenly, I was pushed closer and up into his grasp. Looking down below me, he saw the faces of people of many nations, and they were supporting me with their hands, and they were gently pushing me up. These dreams remind me that our great loving Creator and Jesus the Christ, who gave us that mountaintop experience and glimpse of God, their hands of grace are gently holding us all. We are not just one, we are many. And as we reach out to help, we find that we stand on the shoulders of another, all falling upward, all being given abundant life and vistas of glory where we can fly. So, what mountain will you climb this week? Pentecost is here. Take the hand of a friend, put your face to the wind. Be secure in the knowledge that the Spirit of life stands protectively right by you. Thanks be to God. What's the next I'm supposed to be? And so we come to our time of prayer. And this is a quieting time, a time where we quiet our spirits, where we stand on our mountains, or stand on the path of those dark valleys, and we face those moments not alone, together with the Spirit who made us, who loves us. Spirit of life, of wonder, of moment, you raise your golden arm in blessing on this day. Refresh us in the deep well of your love. Renew our souls with the quiet joy of your silence. Replenish our spirits with your grace. All who labor, come. All who are weary, rest. And so we offer our prayers to you, Spirit, those written on the prayer chains on the altar, and those that are spoken only in our hearts in this moment. You are with us. The Spirit of Christ always dwells with us. We ask that you bless Pastor Paul and Sue on their holidays. Grant them safe travel in a time of refreshing. We thank you for your unfailing love as we journey along in your beautiful creation. I would ask that you joined with me in singing Spirit of the Living God. Ask you to stand with me. So we've talked of mountains, we've talked of valleys. And the presence of Christ has been with us and goes with us out those doors into our lives. And we ask the blessing of the Father, Abba, the Creator, the Mother, God. We ask for Jesus, light to shine within us to others and share that love passes all understanding, and that silence in the chaos of our days. And the Spirit that moves among us, within us, and through this whole universe, bringing love and light everywhere. And all God's people said, Amen.
Go make a difference. We can make a difference. Go make a difference in the world. Go make a difference. We can make a difference. Go make a difference in the world. We are the salt of the earth, called to let people see the love of God for you and me. We are the light of the world, to people that we see. Go make a difference in the world. Go make a difference. You can make a difference. Go make a difference in the world. Go make a difference. You can make a difference. Go make a difference in the world. All right, Curtis. Go make a difference. You can make a difference. Go make a difference in the world. Go make a difference. You can make a difference. Go make a difference in the world. Take it. Go make a difference in the world.
Happy Father's